Hello, this is Miss Bierman, and today we are going to be learning a little bit about creating a collage. So a collage, C-O-L-L-A-G-E. This word comes from the French word, I can't pronounce it, but collage, which means to glue. So to create a collage, you need glue. We're going to use a glue stick for this particular one. Scissors. We're going to be using the small scissors, not the big pointy ones. And we're going to need some collage materials. So we're going to start with cutting. I have created a sheet for you of some collage materials that you can cut out. We're going to use these shapes, these organic shapes, to create a poem illustration. Of course, this collage technique can be used for many types of things. The first thing I'm going to do when I cut out shapes is I'm going to free the shapes from the large piece of paper. Some of these shapes are very intricate or complicated, so what helps is to sort of separate them from each other without cutting them out all the way first. This is so much easier to cut them apart first than to try and cut this all out while it's still connected to a large piece of paper. So that's my first step, is to just cut them into so now I have the general pieces separated from the white paper. I can look for scraps to get away from my workspace, but you can see they're all sort of freed from their paper prison. And this one is not. Let us out. We want to be independent. There we go. So now I've got them all ready. When I start cutting, I'm going to start with my simple shapes first. So this is sort of an oval shape, and I'm going to try and cut the white paper off and follow that line as carefully as I can. As you cut your shapes out, please remember that you're learning to cut. This is a practice collage, and it's really good to practice your cutting skills as well. The only way you can get better at cutting is to continue to practice it. So see how when I cut this one out, this paper is kind of in my way? Sometimes I just cut that excess paper off and remove it from my workspace so that I'm not getting overwhelmed with tons of papers. So I'm cutting this one out sort of like a U or a horseshoe shape. The poem that we're illustrating is called Here Comes Summer by Shel Silverstein. And we're going to be illustrating it with these abstract organic shapes. It's going to be a challenge, just like cutting is a challenge as well. Now, so you can see I can cut these shapes out pretty well, but when we start looking at some of these more complex shapes, it can take a while, but there are ways to modify it as well. So to cut this sort of ink splat, I guess, little flowery blob, I'm very carefully turning it as I get into the center here. So that's sort of my technique for cutting, is I like to rotate the paper instead of trying to turn my scissors in all different directions. I'll make this so we can see this a little better. So as I cut this out, I'm rotating the paper with the curves. So I've been cutting out shapes for a long time, so I have a lot of cutting practice. Don't worry if you're not perfect at it, okay? And here's a way you can modify it too. If you're really struggling with cutting out all those intricate, complicated details, you could cut it out as if it's sort of a sticker. So when I think of stickers, I think of ones that have sort of a border around it. Usually there's an image and then kind of a white border around it. So in this case, I might cut them out just sort of like that. And not cut all the way in, but I'm not leaving it all jagged and weird looking. This is a modified cut where you're not cutting all the way in, but I took care to create an edge that looked nice along with it. Okay, so you want to cut all of your shapes out as best as you can, and you probably won't get all of these shapes cut out before class is over, so we will store them in a baggie. So I'll give you a baggie like this, and we will put your name and whatever class you're in on it. So I'll put my name here on the baggie and my class, 3A, 3B, or 3C. I'll put 3A. So when it's time to clean up, if you don't have all your pieces cut out all the way, it's okay. It's going to take a little time. So you're going to open up your baggie and carefully get all of your pieces into the baggie. Let's see if I can pick these up. Slide them into my baggie here. I dropped one on the floor. I'll pick that up. So a good idea to check your floor for any shapes that you may have accidentally dropped. And then if you have a new baggie, you can close it. If not, we'll be careful not to spill it, but please don't have a bunch of air in your baggie. Make it puffy, because then it's hard to store. So at this point I can stop, and then the next class I can continue on.